Always beating, enthusing, never cheesing or choosing. 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 Homestar! Beating, enthusing, never cheesing or choosing. Always beating, enthusing, never cheesing or choosing. Always beating, enthusing, never cheesing or choosing. Always beating, enthusing, never cheesing.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Stick. It is a Homestar Runner podcast that everyone loves to listen to as their favorite Homestar Runner podcast in the whole world. My name is David, and I am joined by a very special guest today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bran, and I love Homestar Runner. Although I'll admit I've been kind of a lapsed fan, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were really into Homestar Runner for a long time, and then when they kind of stopped updating for those, 4 or 5 years, a lot of people kind of fell off and kind of stopped checking at that point.
Yeah, I know, like, for me, like, how I got into Homestar Runner, funnily enough, I think I was in 8th grade, or it was the summer between 8th grade and my freshman year of high school. And this was maybe 2003, 2004. It's a little while ago. But my sister introduced me to Homestar Runner, and she found out we were really into going to this youth group at this church that we went to a lot. And so a lot of people were like really into that. And it kind of seems to make sense in some ways that Christian teens would be really into Homestar Runner. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And then I was into it for, pretty much up until the point where they kind of stopped posting stuff on the website. Yeah.
To kind of piggyback off your comments about Christian teens, I mentioned before that on this podcast that I went a couple of summers to a Christian summer camp for, tweens and teens. And I did, in fact, use the internet cafe computers at the college that we were staying in for that summer camp to watch Homestar Runner.
I love that.
I think the experimental film video came out while I was on one of those trips.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, I think like the humor is just at that right point where Christians don't feel too bad about watching it, even if they're like super devout, because it's not really like anything more than playfully edgy at any given time.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's no there's nothing vulgar about it, and they don't really take it in like a pee pee poo poo kind of way. You know what I mean?
Also, there's the poop smith, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's the closest that they get to that, and that's really
he cleans it all up.
Yeah, exactly.
So this episode we wanted to do a kind of deep dive on Trogdor specifically.
Yeah, Trogdor, the Burninator. Speaking of which, I just want to say at the top, Matt Ribeiro made a reference to the S's for Sucks dragon video that came out in 2008. I'll touch on that a little bit more. And he talked about how the internet ruined Trogdor, and I hadn't seen that video for years, so that reference totally flew over my head. So I just want to say I'm sorry I didn't get the reference. I was catching up and brushing up on stuff today, so once I saw that I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about. So Matt, I'm sorry.
That video did kind of even back in 2008, I feel like we were already seeing the start of the internet running a joke into the ground.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, too, is at that point, Trogdor had been, around for 5-6 years. So,
yeah.
Homestar
Runner predated social media. So, social media started being a thing that people used, as they were already fans of Homestar Runner. And so you started getting, Trogdor memes all over the place. As soon as you opened the Facebook the first time, you would see all the people at your college sharing the Trog memes.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the special like Trogdor groups. Did Facebook even have groups back then in 05?
I don't know.
06?
I'd have to ask my other friend Matt, not Matt Ribeiro, but I have another friend Matt who went to college when he was like in his early teens because he just skipped high school basically. Mm-hmm. And so he was there like at the very start of the Facebook when it first started going to college campuses. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I'd have to get in touch with him to ask about how much functionality was actually there at that point.
But they are up there posting Trogdor up on the Facebook. They had to have been.
Yeah.
So Trogdor comes from the strong bad email called, I want to say it's Dragon.
Dragon.
It was released on January 13th, 2003. In 2003, in January 13th, I was in 7th grade, and I didn't know about Homestar Runner yet. It wouldn't. I didn't get to this until almost a year later, around 2004. I think was when I was really starting to dig into it. But
yeah,
basic breakdown of the email is Strong Bad gets a message. It says, and I quote, "Hey Strong Bad, can you draw a dragon? I want to see your skills of an artist. Well, G2G, Kaiser from CA." And then Strong Bad first draws a dragon, but it turns out to be the S is for sucks dragon. And so he scraps that, and then he draws Trogdor with the consummate V's and the muscly arm on the back, and then it kind of goes from there. He asks several people how their drawings is going. Coach Z shows up, and Strong Bad yells at him for not doing consummate V's, and Homestar.
Coach Z's version is later referred to in the Trog Day cartoon as Worm Dingler. Because it looks basically just like a worm with like a really big mouth.
I also really like that when Strong Bad is drawing Trogdor, and he's drawing the wings, and he calls him a wingaling dragon. I love that. Homestar shows up as just kind of a little Easter egg, and I love that I think he says, "I'm just doing my job," or something like that. I'm
trying to remember. I think he wrote the words "Taster's Choice" on a piece of paper in front of him.
Yeah.
And Strong Bad says, "Get out of my house," and he says, "I do what I'm told."
Oh, that's what it was. It's I do what I'm told. And that's and then Strong Mad is just carving the word. It's not dragon. It's I think it's Dargan. He's just carving the word, and he's like, Strong Bad's just like, "You just keep doing your thing, buddy." And then Strong Sad has this really immaculate, incredible drawing of an actual dragon that just looks fantastic. And
yeah, he's the goth kid who's been drawing his whole life.
And then Strong Bad says, he says, "I'll improve on your methods," and then he throws a lighter at the drawing, and it burns the drawing up. And then it cuts to the Trogdor song, which
yes.
I was reading up on the trivia a little bit about that song. Originally, apparently they weren't going to include a song at first, but I think what happened was they correct me if I'm wrong, one of the brothers was like singing it like over breakfast while making eggs, and they just felt like they had to include it within that short, and that's the genesis of Trogdor, essentially.
They were just thinking about it, and eventually just one of them started singing a song randomly, and it turned into part of the cartoon.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And then my understanding is they don't really make too many references for a while for Trogdor. Like I know they come up with the game, and then they Trog Day 3 years later. This is in 06. Is when that
08.
Oh
or no, yeah.
Yeah,
no, 06. You're right.
06. Yeah. So it was 06 was the first one. And so it's basically just a huge montage of just like people's artwork, people in Trogdor costumes, with the Trogdor song. It's been updated. I think this is the version that ended up in Guitar Hero 2.
Yeah, I think it's also the one from the Strong Bad Sings CD.
Yeah. Nice. And then and the reason that song even made it into Guitar Hero 2 was the one of the head people at Harmonix was such a huge fan of Homestar Runner that he like had to get that song into Guitar Hero. So it's basically just a huge montage of like people in costumes and stuff like that. Really cool like video, because you can kind of really see the impact that Trogdor like had on people.
Yeah, I know for sure that people in my high school were like, I went to Catholic school, so we wore uniforms, but like on non-uniform days, there'd be at least 3 or 4 people with, you know, a Trogdor shirt or a Strong Bad shirt.
Nice. That's the thing is, people when I was in high school, like they didn't like nobody was wearing shirts, but people were definitely like screaming Trogdor like in the hallways. I
know you mean nobody was wearing Trogdor shirts, but I'm just imagining nobody wearing shirts to high school
at all. Yeah, it's just
a very chill high school.
God, I wish.
Whatever, man. It's time to learn some social studies.
And I forgot to actually mention, prior to this, though, they came out with, and this was around the time that I had gotten into Homestar, so this was actually really exciting for me. So back in 2004, I think they came out with a preview. I think it was like June or July. I'm not entirely sure when the trailer came out, but it was for a game called Peasant's Quest, where you play as a peasant named Rather Dashing. The game itself is sort of like a huge like send up to games like King's Quest and Leisure Suit Larry.
The graphical text adventure Sierra type game.
Yeah. And where they like in some ways they're not making fun of it, but like they are poking a little bit of fun. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like those games were always like, I feel like even at the time people were getting so confused by like what words they could and couldn't use to enter commands.
I watched, and that's crazy. Like, so my initial like playthrough of that game, I know it took me at least a few hours to complete because it was like trial and error trying to type in commands and figure out what it is that you need to do. I watched a playthrough of it today, and this guy just like ran through it in 20 minutes, and so I was like, well, shit.
That's how much actual gameplay is there. Yeah.
Can we curse on this?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, I was like, oh shit, I can't believe like this dude just zoomed right through it, and it took me several hours. But I had fun, definitely playing it. Before I kind of get any further, like what's been sort of your experience with Trogdor, and just like how you sort of interacted with that specific, I guess, character like within Homestar Runner?
I feel like Trogdor always was more of kind of a side obsession. Like it was never really the main thing that I was like super into about Homestar Runner. Like I was even when I started watching the show, I didn't even watch Strong Bad Emails for a little bit because I just wanted to watch all of the tunes first. and I just got very interested in, these characters and how they interact with each other. And, the emails are really where the lore is. But like the tunes were what I was the most familiar with from being online for the amount of time that I had been in.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to be able to, interact with a website, or you're not supposed to be able to like get your emails answered, on a website in the form of a cartoon. That's just not something that happens. You're just supposed to go there and watch the show and be happy with your life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did for the first couple of months. And then when I dug into the emails, I was like, okay, whoa, there's like way more here than I thought there was.
Yeah, especially like within the emails. I think once I dove in, I definitely watched them all up to the point that they like I got current, and definitely you're right. There's a lot of like world building that they do kind of within those strong bad emails. You kind of get a little bit more stuff.
I did very much like buy the CD as soon as I had the ability to do so. I think at that point I got my dad to buy it for me because I didn't have a credit card at that time.
Nice. Yeah, I think I didn't quite. I kind of missed the boat too on getting a lot of merchandise because I wasn't quite of the age to be buying things online yet. When I was watching Homestar Runner, like at kind of my peak obsession, and so like I missed out on a lot of that stuff. But that's, I mean, fine. And kind of, you brought up a really excellent point of like websites, like there weren't just really any websites where you could really interact with. It was more just like you'd watch the cartoon and be happy with. What I really like about Homestar Runner, I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but what I really like about Homestar Runner, just even as a website, is there was a lot of like really cool like Easter eggs and like things that you could click and just really awesome like interactions and stuff. I mean, that stuff's all still there, but like to me, like that stuff was really novel back in the day, back in the early aughts. I really dug that stuff, and the fact that they took such time to like put that stuff in there, and like if you went digging around, you saw all these really cool Easter eggs and stuff. That's cool.
It felt kind of like you were playing a game while you were watching the cartoons, like you were discovering something.
Yeah.
Like playing Myst.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you spend enough time with it and you suddenly solve the puzzle of why Coach Z is like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever do that, but
no.
Just an example.
No, that's good. But kind of back to Trogdor a little bit. So basically with Peasant's Quest, the whole point is you play as this guy, rather dashing, and you come home from vacation to find out that Trogdor has burned down your cottage, and ultimately you basically a guard is guarding the area where you're supposed to try to get access to Trogdor, and he says you don't look like a peasant, you certainly don't smell like a peasant, and you're not on fire like a peasant, so you have to do all these tasks to kind of get smelly and get a robe and put yourself on fire. Basically you end up, huge spoiler for the game. I mean, again, you could beat it in 20 minutes if you know what you're doing. So the huge spoiler is you get all this stuff. You get like a sword and a shield and a helmet. You throw your sword at Trogdor. He wakes up and he talks about like, hey, I actually can't die. But he's like, in so many words, he's like, basically, I really appreciate you coming all this way. Like no one's ever gotten this far, and just the fact that like you did it, like I'm happy to burninate you. I hope they build a statue of you somewhere. And then Trogdor kills you and the game ends. And then it kind of shows this very funny statue next to your burned down cottage. And that's how the game ends.
The ending is the same kind of like weirdly anticlimactic as some of the old Sierra games. There's at least one Space Quest game, for example, where you end up traveling to the the 80s and going to the headquarters of Sierra to meet Ken and Roberta Williams, who were the owners of the company.
That's wild. And that does definitely seems pretty anticlimactic to like, especially a game that's called Space Quest. Like, like that's how it ends. I mean, I love that, but that's still very, very silly, and I think that's the kind of spirit.
Yeah, like it's a comedic game throughout, but it's really just kind of a weird thing that happens at the end.
Mm-hmm. And then so the only other thing I want to say about Peasant's Quest, which I find really, really hilarious, is in 2005 they came out with a movie trailer.
Yes.
And
with Matt Chapman as most of the people in it.
Yes, and it is incredible. It is so I had forgotten like that this even existed.
Yeah.
And
I remember going to watch it and being greeted with the like different file sizes depending on like how fast your connection was.
Yeah.
And like the biggest one was like 9 megabytes. Whoa, that's going to take forever.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I remember seeing it once I saw it. It kind of really flooded back to the first time that I saw it in 2005, and I lost it. I thought it was so funny just how it's shot. Like how it's just it's Matt Chapman, like you said, doing most of the characters. And I don't know, it's funny. It kind of just plays up the brothers Chap, like their sense of humor and stuff. And if you haven't seen this trailer, I highly recommend it. It's silly and goofy, and it's definitely
they really went for it as far as like putting in the obscure references into live action. Like they even at one point have a shot of Jonka with the club jumping up and down.
Yeah, and also they have I just love that they they have the part where he's holding the baby and he says, "Throw baby," because like that's
as any real person would do before they do an action.
Yes, and so like it's just stuff like that makes it so funny. Do
you remember what happens when you throw the baby down the wishing well in the game?
Yeah. So the baby comes back up with a meatball sub, which is something like that you actually can use, because when you're on your way up the mountain to meet Trogdor, there's like these 3 keepers of Trogdor, and they're like, you can either answer this question, or one of them's like, oh man, but I'm really thirsty, like maybe you can help me out, and you give them a soda that you get from throwing the baby in the lake. And then another one's really hungry, and that's you give him the meatball sub. But the only way you got that meatball sub was throwing the baby
down a
well. And then same with like one of them's like, oh, I have back problems, and you get these pills from an inn. But that's the only way that you can kind of get past that guy too. But yeah, it's just like really ridiculous stuff like that that makes it very, very charming. And I recommend it. I think it's a very fun experience. Like, especially Did
Peasant's Quest come out before or after the first episode of Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People?
I think it came out after, because it came out in August 2004, and I want to say it came after. I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong, and if I am, I apologize.
Yeah, because I know that was a WiiWare game, and Wii didn't come out till the end of 06.
No, then yeah, it definitely came out before then. Yeah, that totally came out before.
Maybe they got contacted by Nintendo, and Nintendo was like, hey, we played Peasant's Quest. You want to make like a real video game for real gamers? We got just the system for you.
It's for real gamers.
It is. It's got bowling, and it's got Link's crossbow training.
It has
it's got Elebits
and Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah, Wii Sports Resort rules. You can fight someone with a sword.
Yeah, no, that game actually is incredible. So then the next sort of Trogdor thing that happened was in '08. It was around the anniversary of the email. But this one was, I made reference to it early. It's the S is for sucks dragon, and it's strong bad, basically going through the alphabet, and then basically just talking about this dragon. And then he makes mention of the fact that the internet ruined Trogdor. Let me see what else does. Let's see. He says you internet types ruined Trogdor just like you did zombies, pirates, ninjas, and Strogbad. And then he says, wait, no. And then he says, yeah. So I just like that he also makes reference to himself, like it's the internet's fault that he's ruined. So
yeah.
And I like also towards the end of that sketch, there is a apparently Trogdor's snout. It says Trogdor's snout appears behind the blinds outside the window, and Trogdor roars. And then Strongbad says, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Right away, sir. And then because he makes mention, he's like, before that, he's like, I'm so glad that I'd much rather sing this ABC song than sing like a metal song about Trogdor. But then there's a metal song, like a speed metal song that's talking about how the S is for sucks dragon, and it's this very detailed drawing of that dragon. I don't know, just a really good way to...
Yeah, kind of like the original Trogdor video.
Yeah, very, very good way to kind of end that video. And then...
There's another cartoon between those, which doesn't really have Trogdor in it, but... is Trogdor Con 97?
97, yeah, that came out...
Which came out in 2005.
Yep, September 5th, 2005. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't really mention Trogdor other than the fact that it's Trogdor Con.
Yeah, it's just Strongbad and the Cheat having gone to this convention and setting up a booth where they are giving away gamer tags. And commenting on everyone's bad costume choices.
Mm-hmm. And basically, like, they just, it's just them making fun of, like, quote unquote nerds and just having, like, doing, like, strong bad and cheat stuff.
Strong says he's going to go buy some anime. Which Strongbad responds to with, it's called Japanimation, or at least it was back in 1987. Which is true.
Yeah. I just
like even when I was little, I feel like I didn't learn the word anime until I was maybe 10.
Oh yeah, no, I think back in, especially even in the 90s, like on Toonami and stuff, like they would call it Japanimation. Like I don't think that anime was really a word that was uttered until, like you said, maybe we were like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Roughly around that time.
When we started actually listening to the creators of the content that we were consuming.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, we got Dragon Ball Z. It's come from Japan. It's Japanimation.
What's crazy is, like, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, like, so when it finally came to America, like, it had long been out. Like, it came out in the late 80s, early 90s. And just, like, I don't know, that when I found that out, it tripped me up. That's for sure.
It's like, no, this is a 90s thing.
Yeah,
I'm the first person to get into this.
Exactly. Yeah, no, this is my thing. I got into it first, not Japan. No, not at all. That's not. So apparently, also within Strong Bad's cool game for attractive people, there's a game called 8-Bit Is Enough. And apparently, so in it, it's Trogdor. There's a Trogdor arcade machine. It breaks, and Trogdor is released into Free Country, USA, and promptly burninates Strongbadia. So, driven for revenge, much like Rather Dashing in Peasant's Quest, Strongbad sets out to kill Trogdor. So, and then, like, I guess he shows up within that game. But then after the SS for Sucks Dragon, like, there isn't really any sort of mention of Trogdor or Peasant's Quest or anything like that. You know, around 2010, the site goes on hiatus, and then they come back.
It just made my college career that much more difficult.
Yeah.
Having to live without Homestar Runner.
Yeah. And then, yeah, because that's the thing, too. Yeah, I was in college around that time as well, and, I was really missing it. I think I was feeling really nostalgic for Homestar Running around that time, too, because I hadn't been watching it that much, and then I would go and check.
It was with me the entire way through high school, and then suddenly it just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, which is kind of sad, but eventually they did come back, and the latest thing that I see as far as, like, Trogdor, well, two things, actually. So there is the, hold on one second. It is the Trogdor, the board game, which I'll get a little bit more into in a second. And then there was also an HTML game that came out in 2018. And I think that's the latest thing to feature Trogdor, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't know about Trogdor, the board game. My understanding is they had a Kickstarter for it, and reading up on it, like, they had a goal of like $75,000 and apparently they met that goal like within 3 days, and so they were able to kind of fund the game itself. I had no idea that this game existed. I was wandering around Gen Con in Indianapolis in 2019, just kind of, looking at games and stuff, and there was a person there dressed up as a peasant. They had the robe and everything and all, and they had a strong bad puppet, and they were demoing this game, and so I watched it, and I was like, okay, I gotta get this game. Do you know much about this game before I kind of get into the explanation? Like, what is your sort of experience with the board game? Have you played it before?
I own it, but I'm in a board game group that is notoriously difficult to get to try new things. So I haven't really taken the time to really open it up or learn to play it at this point.
Understandable. Yeah. My issue is I don't really have any IRL friends here, and COVID aside, like, I don't have a dedicated group to really play it with. I did get a chance to play it at Gen Con. Basically, it's a co-op game. So what's funny is, if you really wanted to, and this is kind of sad, but if you really wanted to, you could play on your own. It's technically a single player game.
Solo board games are becoming a lot more of a thing these days too. I have a friend who works for a local board game company here in Minneapolis, and she designed a game similarly you can play by yourself. It's like a campaign game where you go through like missions after missions and kind of gain experience and more items as you go. Yeah,
that's how Dark Souls, the board game, is set up too. You can play with more people, but it's essentially like the concept's the same as you play as one person and you gain experience.
Like the difficulty scales based on the number of players.
And but Trogdor, the board game, is definitely fun. It's way more fun with more people. Like I said, it's a co-op game. You play as basically the keepers of Trogdor, and the goal is to get Trogdor to burninate the entire countryside as well as peasants. But there are several knights that are capable of stopping you. Trogdor has a certain amount of health. There are difficulty settings, so you can make it as easy or as hard as you want. It's basically, you set up the board. It's these tiles that you set up, and you can make it, like I said, you can make it as easy or as hard as you want it to be to set up. And there's all these parameters and stuff, and I won't get into all that. But it's a very fun co-op game that you can play with. It's like 1 to 6 players. It's very good. It's available now, as far as I know.
I wonder if anyone's going to add it to Tabletop Simulator. I've been using that basically as my only way to play board games with more than just the people that live in my house right now.
Nice. Yeah, they definitely should, because it's a good game. Highly recommend it. Yeah, but I love Trogdor. Definitely one of my favorite.
Did you play the Trogdor game on the website very much?
I played it a little bit. I was interested. It seems like it's more just like kind of like the kind of game. My understanding is like you just play it and get as big of a high score as you possibly can. It's kind of just one of those.
Like it's an old style arcade game, basically.
Yeah, it's fun. I like that. I think Peasant's Quest does it for me a little bit more because it is like a more fully fleshed out game in that sense.
Yeah. I was actually very impressed with the ability to cram that much game into a flash file.
yeah, which is still bananas to me. I know one of the brothers is quoted as saying that like Peasant's Quest is definitely one of the favorite things that they've done. But yeah, I wanted to talk about kind of a little bit about the overall like zeitgeist of Trogdor, especially like within the sort of like early-ish to mid aughts. I would say like from the time that the Strong Bad email came out, so like 2003 to 2008, 2009, that seemed to be like the sort of original like lifespan. I know for me, I was definitely kind of caught up in it. I half jokingly was like, you know what? When I'm old enough, I'm gonna get a Trogdor tattoo, and no one's gonna stop me. I haven't, mind you. But what was your sort of experience like, kind of within that whole like Trogdor mania?
Yeah, like it's kind of hard to recall. I feel like I definitely had friends who watched the website.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a friend of mine from like grade school who initially sent me a message on AIM telling me to watch Homestar Runner the summer after 8th grade.
Nice.
But as a teenager who only sort of got into social media towards the end of like 2006, the beginning of 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Trogdor like the biggest Trogdor meme potential, I should say, kind of happened when I wasn't really paying attention. Mm-hmm. But definitely the use of the name Trogdor the Burninator in Buffy the Vampire Slayer happened while I wasn't watching that show.
I love that. Yeah.
See,
I didn't know that. That's bananas to me that they did that. But good on Buffy for doing that. Shout out to Buffy. Yeah, I think for me, it wasn't that I was like online. Like I certainly like I don't think I even had like I had AIM, but I wasn't like a part of social media. I didn't get a Facebook till like 2007, 2008.
The main way that I communicated with people before, Facebook and all that stuff took off was basically MSN, AIM, and Yahoo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yahoo Instant Messenger.
Yeah, I used all those, and if it wasn't that, it was the Gorilla's unofficial fan forum. I was. You might have been on at the same. Excuse me. You might have been on at the same time as one of my friends who I met on the Lemon Demon forum. Because they were like really really into the Gorillas fandom at the same time. It is definitely possible. I joined the year that it was in 2005. So yeah. It's a little bit of backstory about GU is it was sort of it was an offshoot of the main Gorillas official message board. A lot of members were feeling kind of jaded, and so they moved their community to Gorillas Unofficial, which started out as a live journal news site, and then became a fan forum from there. So yeah, that
happens with every internet community after too long. I feel like it's like, oh man, there's too many people now, and they're not talking about the stuff that I want to talk about anymore.
exactly, and that's how it sort of worked out. But as far as like other than that, like I had a MySpace, but nobody was talking about Trogdor in MySpace. No. So it was kind of mostly limited to my friends and my friend group. And then I knew that the song was in Guitar Hero 2, and that was basically the extent of it. As far
there was
as
a limousine song in Guitar Hero Rocks the 80s as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Because It's Midnight was a track on that one.
Mm-hmm. Didn't
the harmonics thing is just very interesting because you get like bands that were made up of people from harmonics, like Freeze Pop, who got their music into those games because of that.
Yeah, I was thinking about them the other day too. They haven't really made anything since like the late like aughts. I wonder if they're just mostly working on.
I think the last album of theirs that I remember came out in 2010.
Wow, 10 years ago. Whew.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that too much. My birthday is next month, and I turned 31. And
yep.
Yeah.
It's 31's coming up for me this month.
Yeah. Oh, that's, you know what? That's fine. But yeah, Trogdor, definitely one of my highlights for me on the Homestar Runner website. Definitely not the only thing that I loved. I love pretty much everything. Shout out to Teen Girl Squad. Definitely, that's another thing that was one of my all-time favorites. But yeah, Trogdor, love it. Live, laugh, love it. And that's all I have to say on Trogdor.
Yeah. Do you have like, since we have a little bit of time left, do you have like any other like Homestar anecdotes from when you were like first getting into the site?
Man. So I funnily enough, because like my sister and I, she's like 4 years older than me, so a lot of people that I was in 8th grade, she was pretty much done with high school, and a lot of people that she hung out with around this within this youth group were of her age. I don't remember the name of this guy, but he would often do like a Homestar Runner voice. And I just like, he did it almost like perfect, like just the way that he did it. He was like, "Oh, strong bad," and like, but that's my terrible impression. But yeah. he was really, really good at it, and so I always got a kick out of him doing that. And just like a lot of like quotables just came out of it. I know like Teen Girl Squad was like quoted a lot. I think at the height of my obsession, like, I think I would check the website like at least once a day just to see if there was something new. Once I kind of, once I kind of ran out of like, I had seen all the cartoons, I caught up on all the Strong Bad emails. I would just go and visit at least once a day. And sometimes I would just watch stuff like over and over again just because I was so thoroughly entertained by just the content that they put out. And
like there was other Flash websites that you could go to, but why would you?
Yeah, exactly. I like, Newgrounds was there, I guess, but like,
yeah,
the thing is like,
you could go watch all the stolen content on E-Bombs World.
Oh my God, you sure could. That's the thing too, is like with E-Bombs World, God, like people really like frowned upon that. I think you brought this up in Discord earlier about like how, like, remember when people frowned upon people stealing content, and now it's like the it was either you or somebody brought this up they were just like, but now it's just like people steal content all the time, just repost it everywhere, and it's just like part of the sort of normal,
like 9gag is literally the same thing. They or iFunny, they just put their watermark on it, and like it immediately loses the context of the original creator.
Yeah, which to me is so bananas to me, because like if somebody already did something, like instead of reposting it to your fucking Instagram, like that I don't even remember the name of that Instagram that people hate. But
is it Fuck Jerry?
Yeah, Fuck Jerry. That's what it is. It's fuck Jerry, who just like curates their stuff. I don't understand. Like, instead of doing that, why don't you could just lift up the original creators? You could just just
like post a screenshot and then link to it.
Yeah, or just even like at the bare minimum that some of these people don't even do it's just credit. You could just credit people. You could just credit them.
Yeah.
For their
and if you don't know who did it, then just don't post it.
Yeah. Or like, yeah. But people are lazy and they don't want to take the time to credit people or do their research. And so, yeah, I got
it from Pinterest personally. I got it from my 2004 Pinterest Flash cartoon mood board.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, there are other Flash sites, albino black sheep, Newgrounds, all that stuff. But no, I didn't care about any of that. I wanted to watch Homestar, and it's not necessarily because it was like wholesome content or anything like that. Although I guess that certainly helped at the time when I was practicing Christian boy. But no, it's just, yeah, I was so thoroughly entertained by what the brothers chap was doing, and that I loved Homestar, and now just talking about it has me so nostalgic for it. Like, I kind of just want to dip back into the website, because it's I won't lie, it's been a while. Like, even when they came back, I did go and watch like the first new Strong Bad Email, because it was like, oh shit, like they're back. They haven't posted anything in like 4 or 5 years, and this is the first thing. And so like that was cool. But beyond that, I think for me, my attention span, or maybe my interest, not that it's waned necessarily, but I haven't really kept up with it, to be honest. Like, as sort of a lapsed fan, you know, I haven't kept up with Homestar Runner. So what about you? Have you, like, sort of like, once they come back, do you still keep up? Like, what are your sort of like Homestar Runner like rituals? Like, do you check the site daily?
I'm subscribed to them on YouTube. I don't really go to the original site anymore, just because like the Flash site just doesn't look good on modern monitors anymore. But yeah, like anytime there's new content, I don't like watch it immediately anymore, but I definitely still try to watch everything when it like pretty soon after it comes out. And I like follow the Strong Bad actual Twitter account, and I think they might still have a Facebook page that you can like. Yeah, like, and I was, while you were talking just now about like how you felt like this kind of intense fandom for Homestar Runner at the time. I remembered like shortly after I started watching the show, and I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but not in like the context of how I felt about it personally.
Yeah.
The Brothers Chaps did an interview on the show Pulse on G4.
Oh, whoa, whoa.
And I was like, whoa, like this thing that I have liked for a couple of months now is like legit now, and it's going to get all sorts of, everyone's going to like know this thing that I know, and it's going to like blow up, and it did. I don't think it was because of that interview, but like I'm sure that like the majority of people watching Pulse on G4 in 2004 were like you know, people who already watched Homestar Runner, but still, like it felt big that a web cartoon was getting any sort of mention on TV at the time.
Yeah. That's crazy that I'm sure that definitely helped. I also remember like them doing a lot of stuff with They Might Be Giants, specifically the Homestar Runner like puppet the videos that they did with that. And
the puppet jams.
Didn't Limousine open up for They Might Be Giants? I don't know if I'm remembering that right or not, but didn't
they? Might have. I think Will may have touched on that in the last episode that we did, because Will like lives right near like the Homestar Runner epicenter in Georgia.
Oh wow.
And so like he got to go to like the Limousine and Sloshy show when they played there.
Shit.
Yeah. I don't remember if Limousine opened for the They Might Be Giants. It seems very likely that they would. I know the the like Strong Bad and Homestar puppets sometimes made like cameos during TMBG sets.
Maybe
back
that's
in the mid aughts.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm remembering is maybe it was more the puppets and not maybe.
Yeah, and now they might be giants have puppets of themselves called the avatars of they,
and that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of the it was around the time that Beck was touring The Information, and they had those stage puppets as well on stage too.
Oh yeah. I the performance on Saturday Night Live of Clap Hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where they like had all of the band members like doing like a stomp rendition with like silverware and stuff at a dinner table.
Yeah, that
was awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible. One other thing I want to mention about those puppets is there is, and I cannot find it. I swear that this exists. I saw it. It was Beck opening up for Radiohead. And apparently the puppets go and trash Radiohead's like hotel room. I distinctly remember the Beck puppet taking a picture of Tom York, drawing an eye patch on him, and then making him say the words "I'm a creep." And it's just like they trash the hotel room. They're like, "Oh shit, we gotta go play the show," and then they appear on stage and stuff. I found a news article about it, but I can no longer find the video evidence of it. But I just
welcome to Stronging Up Something Bad,
a limited event
edition prestige podcast about Homestar Runner.
Yeah,
from Noise Space and Noise Space.
But yeah, no, just even talking about Homestar Runner, it's got me super nostalgic. Like I said, I definitely want to dig back in. I saw that they had a YouTube, so I definitely just subscribed to it. So now, at least that a lot of the back catalog stuff is back on YouTube. So
yeah.
like it's
there's probably about like 80% of the website is on their official YouTube, and other people over the years have uploaded the rest.
Mm-hmm. And I mean that sucks because, like, you know, on one hand, like, it's good and it's bad because on one hand you want the Brothers Chap to get credit and they want the views and all that stuff, but on the other hand, like, it's at least accessible. So
yeah,
you know, like, there's that.
You don't have to accept a security risk to watch this content.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, yeah. So it's good and bad, but I'm glad that they're back. I'm glad that they're like doing stuff on a fairly consistent basis. It seems, albeit it seems like it's more like during like holidays is when they kind of like to release stuff. It's definitely not how it was within its heyday, but I'm happy to see that Homestar Runner is still around and that there's potential for, like, you know, I remember as a 14, 15-year-old kid, like, watching this stuff, and like maybe there's, you know, new 14, 15-year-old kids out there now who are just discovering Homestar Runner and like I hope that they get the same joy out of it that I did back 15 years ago. So yeah. I feel like
the hiatus they went on was almost kind of a product of the fact that for a while there, internet animation or even really like internet cartoons were not the cartoons that people were watching. Like and also they worked the Brothers Chaps did on other cartoons at the time.
Yeah.
And so I can definitely see, like, now that like the majority of what people do with their time is over the internet. Now they're like, you know, I think this is probably a good time to bring this back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also read that they like wanted to like do things like towards the beginning of the hiatus, they wanted to do things that were more viable as like they were starting like families, like having children and things like that. And so I think that was another big push for them to kind of do other things. And yeah, I didn't realize that they worked on other cartoons and stuff, and they still do to this day. And so like I'm glad that they're still out there getting steady work and things that nature. But I also am very glad that they're still keeping the Homestar Runner train going, as well as they released those Strong Bad albums on to stream
on Spotify.
Yeah, which is like that came out of left field for me. Like I was not expecting that at all, and they just were just like, all right, here it is. And so
here's every piece of music from the website so far,
which is it's very
including all of our crappy like Casio keyboard jams that are like 15 seconds long.
Yeah, and it's very beefy. Like granted, you know, I'm looking at the track list, so it's 60 songs for the first volume. Which granted it's only 39 minutes, but that's still like, you know what I mean? Like the second one is also 40 minutes. Yeah. You know, so you have like a very sizable content of those three.
Yeah, over the course of the website, they made all of these albums worth of material and just had to put it all together.
Yeah, and so I'm glad to see that also exists out within the world too. So like if I'm feeling particularly nostalgic about one particular song, I can, you know, just queue up these albums and like listen to that stuff. But oh man, yeah,
I feel like listening to the intro to Homestar Halloween Party today.
Exactly. Yeah, Trogdor forever.
Trogdor. All right. So at this point, I'll let you talk a little bit about all the stuff that you've been working on lately.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll do my plugs. Why not? So you can follow my personal Twitter. It's @MutantStandard. You can also follow me on Instagram if you want. It's @the of Is. I also have a non-live radio show called the Children's Television Workshop. It is a show where I either showcase specific artists or just kind of play whatever kind of music I'm feeling at the time. Sometimes I have guests, sometimes I don't. The latest episode was on Ween with my good buddy Hunts. You can find it at mixcloud.com/cruel passage of time. You can also find it that show on Twitter at CTWorkshop69. You can I also have a Nintendo-centric video game podcast that I have recently revived called New Nintendo Podcast XL.
Such a good name.
Yeah, thank you. One of my original co-hosts, who's no longer part of the show, but a very dear friend of mine, we both came up with that name, and we just love it to death. And but the show is back. I recently did an episode with Noise Space affiliates Gary of Kid Nation fame, and TJ, aka Tyler, of Kid Nation fame, but is also on Radish. Both excellent shows that you should check out. They were on the latest episode of that. We talked about Paper Mario. Had a really good time with them. So yeah, you can find.
It's cool how there's only one podcast called Kid Nation.
Yeah, there is only one Kid Nation podcast as far as I'm concerned. It's called Kid Nation. Check it out. We talked about Paper Mario and had a really good time. Gonna do a new episode on that hopefully soon. But you can follow all the details on that at New Nintendo Cast on Twitter. We also have an Instagram for that show as well. It's New Nintendo Podcast XL, I'm pretty sure. Excuse me. You can.
And I think I mentioned that I wanted to come on and talk about Mario Kart 64 at some point.
Yes, I would
that's
love.
That's definitely the Nintendo game that I played the most.
Yes, I would certainly love to have you on that, and maybe we should do that sooner rather than later, because I don't know when the next episode I'm going to be doing. I have kind of a rough idea. It's just a matter of getting people together to do it. I have the guests lined up. It's more of just finding a time to record. Spoilers, you can cut this if you want. You don't have to, but it's on BioShock. But that's what we're gonna do next. But I know I'm running a little long. I do apologize. There is one more thing I do want to plug real quick. I have recently started to ramp up doing music again. So I have a Twitter. It's at Cave Point Music. You can also find all my previous releases as Bran, which is BRNN, which is like a play on my name, at cavepoint.bandcamp.com. So I can't really speak more on that, but hopefully you'll hear some more stuff fairly soon. But that's all my plugs. Again, I appreciate you letting me take the time to plug that stuff.
Yeah, I'm David. You can follow me on Twitter at Daves with 3 V's.
He's not a landlord.
Music. I'm not a landlord currently. Speaking of music, I've got an album done, and it's going to be coming out very soon. So keep an eye on spinningvoices.bandcamp.com. I've got a single out from it right now called You're Expected.
Very, very good.
And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the release date, I'm just making some silly tunes and putting them up on SoundCloud every once in a while. The last one I did was this silly vaporwave track that took me about an hour to toss together. It's just trying to, keep my creative juices alive.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's definitely the best way to do it. I think a long time ago I did sort of not a vaporwave track necessarily, but I slowed down Daft Punk's Get Lucky. And I had fun with that. So no, that's definitely a good time.
It's the sound of the summer.
Oh.
And I've also got a podcast called Tuning Fork, which is about Pitchfork Media and how they can make or break bands' careers. And you can also find that on Noisespace.xyz, the podcast network that The Stick is on. Yeah. And so until next time, buy all our play sets and toys.
Bye.
See ya, everybody.